many teams their team morale is going down because they aren't running the floor, and I'm talking about on defense. So many teams are getting beat back on defense to where before they know it, they're down 8, 10, 12 points. Teams that make runs on you, generally those runs are made in transition or fast breaks. Teams don't generally make complete basketball runs in a half-court set. Teams really don't make runs strictly in a half-court set. Those runs build up momentum due to teams not getting back and running the court, running the floor on defense. So now they're able to get an easy shot. Now they're able to get a quick transition bucket. Now that confidence and that momentum is building up. Now they're able to, bang down a three. Now, they're getting going, the crowd getting rolling, the other coach like, timeout. And then when that other coach do that, now the momentum is that much greater. Does that make sense? So if teams really just run the floor on defense, they'll solve half their problems. If you can get back on defense and stop a team's ability to get easy buckets, well, now that team has to think. You see how everything goes back to this? Now that team has to think. Now they have to call that play. They have to run that play. They have to try to figure it out, but they have to try to figure it out on the fly, as opposed to now they just playing off instinct and just off reaction because that momentum is building up and now they just totally charged up. So run the court, run the floor on defense.
Hey, good evening. Good evening. How you doing? This is Coach Carvel Bate. I want to welcome you to a special episode of Life and Basketball. On this show, right, is where we talk about how the game of basketball as well as life are synergistic. And so we interview athletes, coaches, officials, those people that's been influential in the game of basketball. We talk about how a little orange ball has oftentimes shaped and even saved their lives, right? And so the show is being brought to you by Bless the Ball Skill Development Academy, where we help student athletes get recruited, even if they're not five-star athletes. Show is also being brought to you by Understanding Life Through the Game of Basketball, right? There are certain principles that can be applied to basketball as well as life. And this book really, really breaks it down, right? And so I'll drop in the chat where you can get the link for not only this book, but also our book bundle copy of our second book, Creating the Perfect Storm, right? And so this is the mental side. So many athletes, parents, and coaches believe that the game is played from the shoulders down, but in reality, it's played from the neck up, just like life. All right. So I'll drop the link to that. But today I'm not going to, be before you long. TD Dub, man, coach, I'm on the West Coast. We shut down. No AAU, getting kids fat, out of shape, no motivation, man. So I'm a help you out, TD. I will help you out with this. And so what I want to talk about today, all right, I want to give you all, and you see, down in the comments here, what our show is today. It's going to be five things that we can learn from Dr. Martin Luther King, right? 5 things that our athletes can learn from Dr. Martin Luther King. And I'm going to give them to you in order. All right. So the first one, right? The first one is patience, right? Dr. Martin Luther King had a lot of people, I was talking to some of my students today, they've heard, the I Have a Dream speech, but that's what they see. They don't really understand the patience that it took. If we talk about 381 days on, bus boycott or Poor People's Campaign, the garbage workers strike, all different type of other things, but the patience that this man had to be able to just keep working until it was right, until it was in a better position than which he found it. And so the same thing can be said for my athletes, right? You have to have patience on the court. You can't just boogity. You can't just run. You have to have patience. You have to kind of have a vision and see things before They happen. And then you have to be patient. This whole college recruiting thing, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to, things aren't going to come to you most times the way in which you want them to come to you. Things can be simple, but they're never easy. And so we have to be patient. So when things aren't working right, I want for my athletes to understand, as well as my parents, and my coaches, be patient. And if you be patient, eventually you will get where it is that you need to go. The second thing that we can learn from Dr. King, if you're watching, make sure that you drop your city and state where you watching from. Number 2. All right. Number 2, y'all can drop some 2s in the chat. Give me some hearts, give me some likes. Let me know that you are here on a Friday evening to get this education, right? It's Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. Would have been 92 today. Not a lot has changed in the country, right? A lot has changed in, let's say, the last 60 years, but it's not necessarily any different, right? So a lot has changed, but it hasn't, a lot of things aren't different, if that makes sense. All right. So number 2, the second thing that we can learn from Dr. Martin Luther King is perseverance, right? Now, it's one thing to be patient. That's why I march every year for him, Coach. Absolutely, TD, absolutely. And that's a great thing. Salute to you for doing that, as well as all the other coaches around here to do MLK shootouts and all those things, to be able to pay homage to somebody that changed culture for us, because basketball now is integrated, right? It was a point in time where it wasn't integrated. It was a point in time in which, and if they were on the same team, but the black players couldn't dress in the same locker room as, the white players, so you have to understand, check out Texas Western and a lot of other schools, Coach Cal with Kentucky didn't, necessarily have black players for a while. And then it expanded. But we talk about perseverance. Perseverance is being faced with that resistance and still moving. We got Coach Justin in from San Antonio. We got Texas in the building. What up, Coach? So when we talk about that perseverance, right? Dr. King had perseverance, meaning that when he met struggle, when he met adversity, he kept going, right? So to my athletes, I want you to understand, if you don't pass the test that first time, the ACT, the SCT, right? One, you have to be patient and just keep studying. But you can't just quit, say, man, I'm not going to do it, right? You have to have perseverance. When that coach is not playing you, when you're not getting the minutes that you feel as though you should be getting, don't quit. We got so many players in the transfer portal because they had no perseverance. It was just easy for them to quit. And yeah, situations, every player's situation is different. But when we talk about perseverance, and Dr. King with perseverance, water hoses, dogs, but he kept coming. To my athletes, even to my coaches, what type of perseverance do we have to be able to reach that goal? Are we going to get upset because we're not playing? Are we going to get upset even because the athletic director is not letting us travel? Whatever. Right now, during COVID, the perseverance, TD just said that on the West Coast, and we got Coach Mosley, Coach Arvin, he's on the West Coast also. If they've shut down basketball on the West Coast, and I just got off the phone with an individual on the East Coast in Maryland, and he said they shut the season down. Does that stop your athlete from continuing on? Right? Are they going to be able to persevere through this season of not playing? Right? Are they going to be able to do that? We got Louisville in the house. We got California in the house, Washington in the house, Texas in the house. This is what I love to see. People all around wanting to get this education. But again, Dr. Martin Luther King had perseverance, right? And so my athletes, I need you to have a little bit more perseverance and stop quitting. Please stop quitting. Man, it didn't go my way. I ain't get the ball. I don't want to play, And unfortunately, we see it a lot in the NBA, and then it trickles down. It's easy for us to do it, for our athletes to do it, because we see who we think are professionals. They may be experts, right? They may be experts in what they do, but they may not be professionals. Even your best player may not, your favorite player may not be as professional as you think or as professional as they could be. So perseverance is the second thing. First thing Dr. Martin Luther King taught us is patience. The second thing that he taught us is perseverance. All right. The third thing that Dr. Martin Luther King taught us is you got to have a plan, man. You got to have a plan. To my athletes, I'm going to speak to my parents. Stop winging it. Stop winging it. Please stop winging it. You got to have a plan, right? Like, write on paper, what is it that you're looking for your student athlete to accomplish? What do you want this game to do for them? What do you want this game to take them? Is it a free education? Is it that you want them to go pro? You want them to be able to help, your family get out the situation? You just want them to have better confidence. You want them to have a better opportunity. What do you want from this game called basketball? Or at least where do you want to start? Does that make sense? Right? So what's your plan? And then when you have a plan, like, you got to be to stick to it. That's that patience and that perseverance. You can have patience, you can have perseverance, but if you don't have a plan, now you're just spinning your wheels. And unfortunately, an issue that a lot of our athletes have is that they're just spinning their wheels. And so to my parents, and I'm going to get into number 4, right? But Dr. Martin Luther King had a plan. It was a bus boycott for 381 days. And they had a plan. They carpooled. They walked. They had a plan. The Poor People's Campaign, right? I was telling my students this, the Poor People's Campaign. When Dr. Martin Luther King was helping Black people specifically, he was like an irritant in the most respectful manner. I'm going to say this. He was like an irritant to everybody else. Ooh, he's irritating. But once he started, and like when he created that Poor People's Campaign, he became a threat. As long as he was just dealing with his own, he was like irritating. But once he started dealing with the masses of the poor people, he became a threat. And then they had to eliminate the threat. And ultimately, we know what happened. But he had a plan, right? That Poor People's Campaign, even after his death, when they set up Tent City, right, on the same mall that, like, the inauguration and everything, they set up Tent City. That was a plan. It was a plan to be able to get things going. Now, lo and behold, and if you all ever get a chance, check out George Raveling. And George Raveling actually, Dr. King actually gave George Raveling the original, his King speech, right? Because George Raveling, great coach, was actually at the speech. And if you ever hear George Raveling talk, Dr. King gave him his speech right after he finished, right? And so but the thing was, the I Have a Dream speech, Dr. King really said, yeah, absolutely, you definitely need to get in shape. What Dr. King said was, he kind of freestyled that speech, right? The I Have a Dream wasn't in the original writing, but because he knew his vision, he was able to still go with it. So to my athletes, to my parents, and even to my coaches, right? To my coaches that's, that's out here that's looking to really help and develop themselves as a coach, tap in with my man, Coach Mosley. Definitely tap in with my man, Coach Mosley. He has the perfect system, the perfect program, right, to be able to help coaches much, much better. But have a plan. And then the fourth thing that we can learn from Dr. Martin Luther King is you got to have good people around you, man. You got to have good people around you, right? If you don't have good people around you, the plan not going to work, right? If you don't have good people around you, the plan is not going to work. So when we look at Whitney Young, Asa Philip Randolph, right? All of those guys, Dr. King had good people around him. And not only did he have good people around him, he also had accountability partners. Right now, unfortunately, we do know that the last speech that he made in Memphis, we do know that he sent Jesse Jackson first, but the crowd didn't want Jesse. The crowd wanted to hear from Dr. King. That's why they came. And so the people around him held him accountable. And Dr. King was like, I don't want to go. Right. But they held him accountable and said, you're for the people. And they want to see you. They don't want to see me. Right. That's what Jesse's saying. They want to see you. So you got to have people around you, right? To my parents, be aware of who's in your ear, who's trying to get close to you for your athlete so that they can come up off you and your athlete. Be very aware, right, of the people that you have around you. Athletes, watch your circle. Watch who you have around you, because it can be guilty by, association. So watch the people that you're associated with. And I'm gonna give y'all a secret tonight. The college coaches that may be recruiting you, or they may want to recruit you, they may not never look at your page. So you think they may look at the page of your friends that they can show on your page that you their friends and you connected to them. Now this whole social media thing is big, so sometimes we become, friends with people that we don't really know. But like I inside trick with Coach Bailey, I didn't necessarily go to the athletes page. I went to the athletes page to see who their friends were, and then I started following one of their friends. Right? Because you are a product of your environment and those people that you hang around. To my coaches, stop having yes men around you. Stop having yes women around you. Have people around you that's going to hold you accountable. Have people around you tell you, coach, no, we don't need to do that. No, coach, maybe we need to step back. Not people that's trying to do your job, and definitely not people that want your job. But you got to have some people around you that you can listen to that's going to hold you accountable. Right. So Dr. Martin Luther King had good people around him. Right. So to my parents and my coaches and my student athletes, hire yourself a coach. Hire yourself a coach that can get you to where you are, the way you need to be. Right. Hire yourself a coach. And that coach is ultimately going to be that accountability partner. And that coach should be somebody that's been to where you're trying to go, that has gotten people to where you're trying to go, that has failed where you're trying to go, but then has been successful in that same thing. Does that make sense? Right. So Dr. King, not only was he patient, not only did he have perseverance to keep going, right? So he waited 381 days. He waited, patience. Then he had perseverance to keep going. Dogs, water, all that, put in jail. He kept going. And then he had a plan. He had a plan because he knew it was something bigger than me being just locked up. When he wrote that letter in that, what was it? I think Selma, right? The jail, right? He still knew that he had a plan. So this plan is bigger than me. My athletes, what are you playing for? And then who are you playing for? What are you playing for and who are you playing for? Every athlete that sees this, I want you to stop the video at this point. Right? Stop the video at this point, and I want you to don't come back to the video until you can figure out what you're playing for and who you're playing for. And those are two totally different things, and maybe even people, if they're people. But what are you playing for? And then ultimately, who are you playing for? Because you should be playing for something bigger than you, and you should be playing for, let's say, something or someone bigger than you, other than you, something bigger than you and something other than you. So go research that, right? Dr. King had a plan. And then the last thing, right? He had people. He had those people around him. Make sure that you know who's around you, right? What people are you putting around you? All right. And then the fifth and final point. All right. And before I go to this fifth and final point, and before I get to questions, that I want to drop this link in, all right, to where you can go and grab a copy of the book bundle. All right, you can go grab a copy of the book bundle. You can catch it right here at bit.ly/B2BSD Performance. You get both books. You get both books in the bundle, as well as you get the first 2 seasons of this show here. We're on season 5 now. So you definitely want to tap in. So 5 things that we can learn from Dr. Martin Luther King. 1, we got patience. All right. 1, we got patience. Somebody, if you can drop them in the chat as I'm saying them, right? 1 is patience. 2 is perseverance. All right. All our athletes need to understand this. 1 is patience. 2 is perseverance. 3 is plan, right? Have a good plan and follow that plan. 4 is people, right? Have good people around you. Have good people around you and knowledgeable people that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about. And then the 5th thing, right? The 5th thing is this. What Dr. Martin Luther King understood was the word that they call perpetuity. And ultimately, perpetuity means like just everlasting. Well, his dream would really be everlasting. Because, as I said, times have changed, but situations haven't. Right? Times have changed, situations haven't. So what Dr. Martin Luther King understood is that we can always be striving for perfection. So what Dr. Martin Luther King did with the patience, with the perseverance, thank you, TD, with the patience, with the perseverance, with having a good plan, with having good people around him, right? 3 and 4. So 1 is patience, 2 is perseverance, 3 is have a plan, 4 is good people. Dr. King understood that when you have those 4 things, now what happens really is it stays with you forever. That mindset of keep fighting, that mindset of following a plan, being disciplined, that mindset of having those people around you, right, that can help you, and not thinking that people are jealous. Well, now that mindset lasts over in perpetuity. It lasts forever. Does that make sense? And to my athletes, you have to understand the same way that this book says, understanding life through the game of basketball. A lot of us have learned things from the game of basketball that will stay with us forever. A lot of us have learned things in the game of basketball that will stay with us forever. And then watch this, perpetuity. Because as coaches, we have kids. Now we passing down that same knowledge and that same information to our kids. Right? There you go. 5 things MLK taught us: patience, perseverance, plan, people, perpetuity. Times have changed, situations haven't. Excellent. Thank you, Coach Arvin. Again, y'all tap into Coach Arvin, right? If you are a coach and you want to, be able to win more games, and like understand your teams better, definitely tap into Coach Arvin. TD, there you go. Have a plan. Yep, I definitely appreciate you, TD. But perpetuity, right? So coaches have kids, so they passing down all that information to their kids. Then their kids have kids. And literally the information that you learn from basketball, from a coach, can last in your family's lifetime forever. But guess what? To those parents of student athletes, you learning it and you getting the education, right? And you going through it and having somebody that can hold your hand, your athlete's hand, walk you through it. Now you can pass that on either to your next kids or to somebody else in your family over and over and over again. And to my athletes, at some point in time, you may have a family, right? But you're going to have friends. You're going to have other individuals that come under you. It's so many athletes that I know that give back to the younger generation. They don't even have kids, but they just give back to the younger generation. That's like perpetuity. They're passing that information on for eternity. But you got to learn it first. And then you got to be around somebody that knows it, that can teach it to you. So I would be remiss as a man, as a Black man, to not pay homage today, even though I think that we should pay homage more than just today, but just to take time and appreciate Dr. King on his actual birthday. And as I was thinking about it, and I'm like, we've heard, proper preparation prevents poor performance. We've heard of those 5 P's, but I wanted to put a spin on these 5 P's, right? Have patience, have perseverance, be to persevere, right? Have a plan, have the right people around you. And then if you do those things, then the knowledge and the information that you get will last forever, like in perpetuity, forever. Coaches not having yes men around them is the gospel truth. Coach, you've been doing this thing for a long time. You've been doing this thing for a long time. Just like my man, Coach Nigel, right? Y'all been doing this thing for a long time. You understand that it's certain guys that just want to wear polo shirts and they want people around them, so that, but that's ego, right? Dr. King didn't have an ego. You can't be patient if you don't have an ego, right? If you got an ego, you ain't patient because you want it to happen right now. Because if it don't happen right now, now you look kind of bad, right? with perseverance, there's no way if you got an ego, you can continue to persevere because now you look bad. Oh man, you got hit with resistance. You got hit with resistance. And then have a plan, right? If now you can have a plan. Here's the thing. You can have a plan, but it has to be the right plan. And I hope the plan has been proven. Because I can say, man, I got a plan. Let's jump out this window, right? But what is that going to do? First of all, that plan has to be congruent to where you're trying to go. Does that make sense? Like if I'm trying to go to sleep and somebody say, I got a plan, let's jump out the window. The one thing that my son always say, he'd be like, I have an idea, right? He said, I have an idea. Well, your idea may not get me to where I'm trying to go. So you got to have a plan and the right plan, and then you got to follow that plan. Right. And then as Coach Nigel said, man, we're having the right people around you. If you haven't had an opportunity to read the book called The Energy Bus, I learned about this book about 4 years ago. I heard Coach Calipari talk about it, and he had his players read it as a team, you know. And actually what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to start a coach's book club. With coaches and athletes. But The Energy Bus, he had his athletes watch this or read the book. If you get an opportunity to read it, and the book is no more than 100 pages, literally. Ain't it, Coach? No more than about 100 pages. But the book gives you basketball and life principles, like no matter what you do. But it's about the energy, right? What do you bring? How are you helping other individuals, right? And then the fifth thing is perpetuity, man. You know, you got to have, you know, once you have that knowledge, it can never be taken from you. You can pass it down over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Humility with dignity, humble and pride, you know, over and over again, man, over and over again. Quick read, as Coach said, it's a quick read, and it's almost the way you can't put it down, literally. And I tell y'all this, and then I'm about to go. I was in the locker room waiting to ref a game, right? Because you know how they keep you in the locker room till it's time to come out. And I was still reading the book while I was full ref uniform. But the book is almost like you can't put it down. So first go cop this book, right? First go cop these books. That's the first thing that you do. The first thing that you do is you go cop Creating a Perfect Storm, and you go cop Understanding Life Through the Game of Basketball. Right. If you on here, if you watching this, go cop these books first, and then go cop The Energy Bus. Those 3 books will put you, your athlete, and your staff way ahead of the curve. And if you really want to get better, I have a scientific tool. called the DISC assessment. If you've never heard of it before, the scientific tool called the DISC assessment. And my company, so we've like recently partnered with like Dr. Eric Thomas and his company. You know, they certified us with being able to administer this assessment. And if I will, because I know I got some D1 coaches on here, Baylor University has been have not only taken this assessment the last 2 years, but they've had their whole entire staff and team coached on this. And so what the DISC assessment is it's a scientific tool that helps you understand what your strengths are, your behavior preferences, and your communication style. Because ultimately we communicate with people in the manner in which we understand. So for coaches to be able to understand themselves better, understanding what strength they bring, then they can in turn help their athletes understanding what strength they have, right? And I'm gonna do a whole show on this later, but when people talk about like Michael Jordan and LeBron James, they're two, and I don't even get into those debates, but I understand it so much better now. They're 2 totally different people. Michael Jordan is on the lines kind of Kobe, right? They had one goal in mind, whereas LeBron James is kind of in the mindset of Magic Johnson, right? He's more inspiring, motivating. So they're 2 totally different people. But when I took this assessment as a coach, it made me understand why my practices were so long. It made me understand why I did things in a certain way. It just tied everything together. And I've been working with some overseas guys, this is really the first time on the show I'm talking about this, but I've really been working with some overseas guys. I've been working with some high school guys. I've been looking to work with some coaches as well. But when you really, really understand who you are, then you'll go to a whole nother level. And so the University of Chicago and Cornell University interviewed a 500,000 people. And they found out that the people that were most successful had two things in common. They were authentic, and they were authentic because they were self-aware. And so I give the example, are you a thermostat or are you a thermometer? Thermostats change the environment of the area in which they're in. Thermometers change to their environment. So because a lot of us as coaches and athletes don't necessarily know our strengths and who we are, so we change our behavior based on the environment in which we're in. Does that make sense? And so now with our athletes as coaches, we looking at our athletes like, man, why this dude or how come this young lady, how come they ain't playing hard? And we may call them soft, but it just may not be in their personality to do things a certain way. So if you really want to take your game and your coaching, to the next level, tap in with me, and I'll show you how to, get a hold of this assessment. All right. So those are the 5 things. Again, go check out, right? If you haven't had a chance, check out my free case study video, BeTheRightRecruit.com. Go check that out, and where we help student athletes get recruited and find the right program for them, even if they're not 5-star athletes. Most athletes, most players think that it's all about what they can do from the shoulders down. And for all the coaches that I have on here that have coached at a high level and just have been coaching for a long time, they too understand that in reality, the game is played from the neck up. All right. So what we do is we help athletes become the person that they need to be to get to the school that they want to go to, or the right fit for them. Because no matter if it's Duke, no matter if it's Wisconsin, no matter if it's Howard, North Carolina Central, Missouri, Kentucky, wherever, they're getting the people that's the right people for their program. And those individuals had to become that individual that coach needed. And if they haven't became the individuals that coach needed, then that coach is going to find somebody else. But hopefully that coach that's looking for who you are right now may come find you. So to my parents out here, if your athlete has no offers, they probably haven't fully developed into the person that they need to be on and off the court to be able to get that college scholarship. All right. So do y'all have any questions? Any questions for me? Questions, comments, concerns before we get off this thing? I'm about to go date my wife. All right. I'm about to go date my wife. It was in the crib, right? Whatever, go hang out. Anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? If not, man, in closing, as I always say, keep striving for the top. Keep striving for the top, because it is crowded as hell at the bottom. All right. Coach Bailey, y'all be good, man. Talk to y'all a little later on. All right. I'm going to leave y'all with this.
Hello, everyone. My name is Malcolm Griffin. I'm here to give you my testimonial review on the DISC assessment that I completed with Carville Bailey. To start off, I want to say Carville knows me really well, so it was good for him to reach out to me to get me to do this. Known me for more than half of my life. He's my first high school basketball coach. Really showed me a different formula to coaching and to motivate players. His technique is one of the most efficient techniques that I've witnessed as a player. And doing this assessment, I really learned a lot about myself. It really blew my mind how Carville broke everything down for me after I did the assessment. Short 15 questionnaire that you list your the things that you more likely of being to the least. And at the end, it came out to something that I really can relate to, that I wouldn't have really seen without this assessment. So I advise everyone to take 10 minutes out your day, get the assessment done. You can really find out a lot about yourself. I think that's one of the lost, how can I say? I think it's one of the lost methods that we have of life is knowing who we are. Some people don't really know who they are, and it's not a fault to them. It's just life. And this assessment really will help you know who you are, know your strengths and weaknesses, and how you can improve. So I want to thank Coach Bailey for reaching out and presenting me with this assessment. And I pray you find out who you are soon too. Thank you.
Hey, man, we hope and pray that you discover who you are too. TD, I appreciate you. Coach Arvin, Coach Thomas, man, Coach Korn, y'all already know how I feel about y'all, man. Talk to me, right? Coach Edgecombs, Richard Brown, everybody that has tapped in and has been a part of this episode here, paying homage to Dr. Martin Luther King. We thank you, Doc. All right, y'all keep striving for the top, man. It's crowded at that bottom.